Also, Nitro RC Nerds here, and this is part 2 of our rebuilding an OFNA Hyoer 7 video series. I'm going to do this a little bit different. I've been thinking about it because there's just so much going on. Also, Nitro RC Nerds here, and this is part 2 of our video series, Rebuilding an OFNA Hyoer 7. I decided that I'm going to go ahead and just approach this a little bit differently because we have so much going on. I am balls deep in our Savage rebuild. There's a lot going on with this. Andrew and I are building a new truggy. This is a Tamiya 801 XT, and we have all the other crap that goes along with maintaining nitro vehicles, keeping them optimized and keeping them as lean, mean, badass machines. So unlike other rebuilds, instead of going through specific domains and uploading that, I'm just going to kind of do like a video diary and walk through, what happened that day or that week, whatever. You'll get these videos when you get them. Because I have to tell you, while I'm, a newbie to this hobby, I've, picked up a few things over the past few years, and I've had the opportunity to work on a few different RC vehicles. I don't think I've ever been more excited about a rebuild project than I am with this. And that is saying a lot. And late last night, it was actually early this morning, I ran upstairs, I told Andrew, like at 1 a.m., I was, working on this, and I said, man, we've been sitting on a gold mine. I don't think we even knew it. We've had this, and it was our second vehicle, and I was never really overly impressed with this Hyoer 7. When you compare it to the Exceed Forza we had, you can't get further ends on the spectrum than those two vehicles. We went from something that would break if you jumped it off a curb. That's not an exaggeration, to this that didn't break at all. Nonetheless, I just was never really overly impressed with it, and I think a large reason was on an impulse one day, I ended up getting a vehicle that is called the Lucy 810, and this thing just danced circles around the Hyoer 7. So it was Andrew and I, Andrew with this Hyoer 7 and me with my beloved 810. And, in the beginning, Hyoer 7, it would actually beat the 810 in our little competitions we do. But then I started focusing on the 810, I rebuilt it. I got it tuned right, not just the engine, but the entire buggy itself. I got it tuned, and it simply destroyed the Hyoer 7 in every way, shape, or form. Still, Andrew loved his Hyoer 7. And, from a distance, I always at least respected it for the fact that it was durable and it didn't break. We have a very, very high bar when it comes to durability. And Andrew was, at the same time, a little bit jealous, a lot jealous, of my 810 because that car it's a Lucy 810. It's a badass. And so I thought, well, you know what? Okay, let's do this. Let's go ahead and I'll put some focus on the Hyoer 7 and we'll give it a facelift. Still, I was like, meh. It's a Hyoer 7. It's durable as hell, but it's a rock. But then something changed everything. I saw it go fast. Very fast. And that was my epiphany. In that I stood there and I could not believe what I was seeing. And the first thing that went through my mind was, this vehicle right here can be as good as any of the vehicles we have. I just never knew it could go fast like that. Of course, new engine and all that, and I haven't really done a lot to it, but, and if you think about it, I would wager that the Hyoer 7 is probably the most popular 1/8 nitro buggy of all time. And as I started going through it, I just could not believe how durable everything was. It had been a long time since I went through it, and, well, you'll see here coming up. It's been a long time since I've cracked open this Hyoer 7, so I'm going to be real interested to find out what I see. Right, here's where we're at. This is everything in the front clip except for the front diff, which I'll get to in a moment, but for the most part, everything looks really, really good. You have to understand, this has been through a lot and has not been touched much, and so once again, the Hyoer 7 is just continuing to impress. The only real issue is the steering knuckle right here. It actually was not broken. What happened was one of these bearings here bent. I thought that this had been bent, but I couldn't get it out. So when I was attempting to get it out, you can see here that it snapped right here. And the only concerning part, I guess, would be that it did not require a whole lot of force to break this. But it's no big deal. just how it goes, and it was meant to break, it was meant to break. As far as the bearings, one of the racers came off. The hinge pins, in all candor, I was expecting to pry them out of the arms. The only damage would be one right here. It's slightly bent. Even then, it's still not too bad. You can see here, it swings at all the other ones. Tremendous shape, both the inner and outer. The bushings are in good shape except for one that's thread locked to, the screw's thread locked to it. No big deal. Haven't taken the shocks apart yet, but there's no, the shafts aren't bent or anything like that. Threading on some of these wheel hubs here has definitely worn. Everything looks good on the diff housing. Suspension blocks are good except for this aluminum one. You can tell it's bent. No big deal. We're going to replace it anyways. Pinion seems okay. However, the diff itself, I'm a little afraid to open because I can guarantee it's empty. It's actually not too bad. I mean, it's somewhat empty, but not completely empty. However, the more important thing, the ring gear, all the teeth, everything looks good on it. So far, just inspecting the gears, they look fine. So let's just go ahead and rebuild it. Swap it out. We'll just start with 5K for now in the front. I will be checking it for leaks here fairly soon. Of course, we replaced the bearings and all that. New chassis. Shocks are completely built. New bodies, shafts, new shock standoffs, new pistons. Let's see, new upper arms, new lower arms for the rear, new lower arms for the new rear hubs, new rear hub turnbuckles, links, and pivot balls. Putting on a hump pack. I really like these Losi 1400 milliamp 6 volt. All new wheel hubs all the way around with new wheel nuts, set screws, pins. New steering link, new engine mount, new suspension blocks all the way around, aluminum. New center out drives, more out drives, axles. Replaced, of course, all the shock parts. Yeah, I mentioned that. New fuel tank, fuel line, tank guard, air filter, posts, shock towers, center shafts, radio tray, front carriers. New clutch setup. I'm going with stock for now. Just I'll change it once I establish kind of where we're going to go next. New clutch bell, springs, flywheel, call it, clutch nut, new clutch bearing, new center diff mount, brake calipers, brake disc, center diff post. These are aluminum right here, and I was actually forgetting that I was buying parts, so I'm going 3 deep in some areas. Built a brand new link setup, so brand new throttle, servo horn, new center diff mount plate. As I noted, links are new, actuators are new, everything. New bearings all throughout. These are actually from the Hyper Pro series bearings. I really like these. And that's just a very small sampling of the parts. I mean, essentially, like I mentioned in the last video, we're going to turn this into a new buggy. And that's our baseline. Then from there, we begin the analysis on how we want to upgrade it. But you have to, you have to get it like new, because that's the best thing you can do. This is no joke to us. We have a very high bar when it comes to our vehicles. I mean, this, we want world-class vehicles, and I think this can be one. Who would have ever thought? Thanks so much. Have a great day.